If you had one guess of something that was going to happen in the industry this year, you got to guess on what you think might happen this year?
There's only so many different things that you can do with cigars. So I would be eager to see if somebody's going to do something different, but not something that's like different just for the sake of being different.
Last year was a great year for packaging. There
Very
were
good year
so
for packaging.
many awesome boxes, presentation.
Nothing came in here that didn't look awesome. Personal opinion, the best cigars in the world are made in Nicaragua. I'm actually including Cuba when I say that. We're back. Between Two Burns, episode 5. It is no longer holiday season.
It is not. It is a new year.
It is a new year, 2025, baby.
We made it. It was a good year last year. We're excited for this year.
Great
and
year.
Tonight we're celebrating the new year.
Celebrating the new year, man.
Yeah, so if for those who don't know, Half Wheel started this thing a long time ago that they call Holy Grail Week, right? And they smoke all of the cool stuff in their humidor. So we decided that's what we were going to do tonight. We were going to smoke and drink something special. So, Jay, what you smoking?
I am smoking the I want to say newly arrived, but Fuente announced right before Christmas that they would be shipping the Dubai Opus X to the U.S. for a one-time holiday release, I guess
That's
we'll
what
call
he said.
it. Yeah, so that's what I've got. It is a Rosado sun-grown wrapper and Dominican binder, Dominican filler, and I'm excited to try it. I've never had it. I'm a fan of Opus, generally speaking. As you know, the Blue 20th anniversary is my favorite cigar. Period, is my favorite cigar. So I'm excited to try it. It went like hotcakes when we brought it in the store right before Christmas, and we sold it on the Saturday before Christmas. So it was a nice surprise for customers who are eager to try it. So I was able to hold one back for myself, which is tough for me. I like to be able to sell them. It is the point. But yeah, so that's what I've got. What about you?
So I am smoking the Tatuaje Anarchy NFT cigar. So Anarchy was made originally for smoking. Anarchy!
I don't know what that means, but I love it.
Made originally for smoke-in as an exclusive, and I've actually had the opportunity to buy some boxes of Anarchy before it became the NFT, but Abe, the guy that owns Smoke In, went to Pete and had the idea when NFTs were still really hot during COVID and whatnot to do an NFT cigar. So they made 7 different cutter lighter ST DuPont combos with the Anarchy, and this cigar was the Anarchy NFT cigar. So they only had 7 of them. 7 NFTs. Abe kept one of them, and then they auctioned off the other 6, and they went for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So this cigar I actually acquired through the through a holiday sampler that I purchased this year. This cigar retails for $100. Not often am I ever going to say I'm smoking a $100 cigar, nor will I ever say it's worth $100. But I figured the occasion is good, and so that's what I'm doing. And I have a backup cigar that we may get to.
Yeah,
we'll see how the night goes. I have an Opus X toy maker. I don't know a lot about it. I know that Opus guy gave it to me because he's very generous, and they go for a lot of money on the secondary. I have no earthly idea how you could buy it originally when it came out, and I've been holding on to it, saying I was going to smoke it on a special occasion, and, well, tonight might be the night.
Yeah, and the one I've got in reserve, I don't know anything about, but I think we're going to discuss it a little bit on this episode when we're talking about 24 cigars, but the Illusione Black and Tan, correct?
Yeah, one-off Black and Tan.
Yeah, so this was a direct recommendation, like, hey, I think you need to smoke this from you. So I'm eager. I will most certainly get to it the way I smoke, but yeah, I'm interested to see what that's going to be like. Are you a believer in NFTs?
No.
Good.
Yeah, aren't they gone? Aren't they done? Like listen, $5 million monkey NFTs, the monkeys, not worth anything now.
There was something else. I can't remember a craze or fad, whatever you want to call it, that came and went so quick. Now I'm sure there's an NFT guy listening who's like, "No, you don't understand."
We have an NFT guy.
We have an NFT guy.
Yeah, your buddy, our mutual friend, who just had a kid.
He is. We haven't.
He's an NFT guy.
He is an NFT guy.
Because he tried to explain it to me one time, and
non-fungible token.
Yeah, and he explained blockchain and why they're valuable, and it just made...
Now, to be fair, he said a lot of words. Whether or not he explained these things to us is a completely different. We were taking. There's a lot of buzzwords in there, a lot of cool terminology.
He's a buzzword guy too.
Big buzzword guy.
Love him, but he's a big buzzword guy.
So he could have really said anything to us, and we're like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Like,
But
cool.
if anybody was going to have an NFT,
100% was him. Yes,
that guy was.
If we were going to send anybody out there as a feeler, like, hey man, you should go buy that. That'd be kind of cool.
He'd have probably bought it 2 years ago and say, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
a trendsetter.
But man, they were come and gone. People paid ridiculous amounts of money for something that nobody, I think, ever really could legitimately explain. I'm sure there's somebody out there who could explain what they believe the value to be in them, but
obviously the market does not agree because the market does not bear said value. So
if you owned or you currently own that Tatuaje NFT, what is it entitled to you?
So,
do you know?
Yeah, and I don't know the exact numbers.
Sure, yeah, I'm not going to hold you to this because who knows?
They did the NFT cigar, but then they did another cigar that you got, I believe, 15 of. That was a one and done, one-time Tatuaje Special Anarchy cigar. I don't remember the name of it. I believe it had the Escasos wrapper leaf on it. I don't think you can buy those again. You might be able to, but the NFT cigar, if you bought the NFT, you got a certain allocation of NFT cigars that you can buy every year.
Yeah.
And those, I mean, they retail for $100. The price isn't going to change. And then it seems like they've actually offered some other exclusive things to the NFT holders. So Mike up in Jersey, who I always talk about, he sent me a message at Christmas, and he had a sampler of this it was like a Tatuaje Toro sampler, and it had 5 Reservas in it and 5 Reserva Escasos in a special Toro size, basically. And those samplers were only available to NFT token holders. But when you purchased it, you didn't know you were going to get that. You just knew you were getting those other 15 cigars, the ST DuPont, I think there was a cutter that went with it, and then the actual NFT, and then you have the ability to buy the cigars again if you'd like to.
Wild.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know where's the NFT? Like, is it just in the metaverse?
It's in the...
Is it in the cloud?
Yeah, it's a cloud thing. Let's hope it doesn't rain in the cloud.
Listen, you know me, and I'm about some sketchy stuff. That is.
Don't tell on yourself.
yeah. That is well, like, I don't even know where it's at, man. Like,
yeah.
You know. Like,
and this wasn't the first NFT cigar either. The first NFT cigar was the LFD Andalusian Golden Bull.
Yep.
And it worked the same way.
That came first? That was first.
I believe it did. Yeah.
Right around the same time.
I believe it did.
And they were hot.
One of the Golden Bull NFTs sold for almost $100,000, if I'm not mistaken. But the funny thing about the NFT, there have been other retailers to be able to, like, they've been able to purchase and have had the Golden Bull.
We've seen this cigar for sale.
Yeah, and same thing with this one. Now, you have had the opportunity from a certain retailer that has the NFT to buy boxes of the NFT cigar.
Which I guess is well within their right. They own the NFT. They
can do what they want with it.
I don't want to say distribution rights to it, but say that's their cigars, and they can do, I guess, as they please with them.
Yeah, it's just it's such an interesting thing because, like, we're going to talk about this, and we have seen some expensive cigars come through and go back out our door in 2024.
Yeah.
I don't know if we had a $100 NFT cigar on the shelf that not a lot of people know about. Like, you got to be a real cigar geek, a tat head to know about this.
So, yeah.
I don't know that we would sell it.
I don't know that we would either. And that has nothing to do with the quality of the cigar or anything like that, but just like, it's just
Nor does it have to do with our ability to be able to sell $100 cigars, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. But like I said, it's special. It's limited. I never thought I'd get to smoke it because I'm not going to pay $100 for it, but it was a surprise in this sampler, and I did not pay $100 for this. So
and shout out Smoke Inn.
It was the Hanukkah sampler.
Hanukkah sampler, cool packaging and advent calendar style of setup. They do a really good job with that. It's a really cool thing.
It was $160, and I got $250 worth of cigars. Probably,
I mean, I feel like you got the value of the box that you bought.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a blind buy. The reason I purchased it is because the last one that they did had the Opus X that was made for the Great Smoke in 2021. Like, so the only way you could get that Opus was if you went to the Great Smoke in 2021. Right. And it was $160. I was like, wow, that's really cool. I wonder what'll be in it this year. And then lo and behold,
the NFT was
the
in it.
NFT.
Yeah. And some other cool and rare things and stuff that, seems like all been worth smoking.
Yeah, but that's Holy Grail week. You smoke the cool stuff that's in your humidor.
Yeah.
Because, let's be honest, that's what it's for. It's for enjoying.
For 2025 to be a great year, it's got to start as a great year.
That's right. Speaking of great, do you want me to say what we're drinking, or would you like to?
No, go ahead.
So we are drinking a bottle of Schrader's Double Diamond. It's the 2018 vintage. It's a bottle that you gifted me Christmas, I guess, that year.
Yep.
And I held on to it. And this bottle, so the year after this, Double Diamond actually won Wine of the Year, as we very well know, which was funny because Double Diamond was a staple on our shelf. And as soon as Double Diamond won Wine of the Year, couldn't get it anymore. And we very rarely see it these days.
And listen, and I don't want to mean to interrupt you, but while we're quickly on that topic, this is another one of those parallels that we see with cigars. We've compared cigars and wine quite a bit when we talk about them, how they're seen in the community, and how they is. It's not uncommon for a cigar that we've got in. I think we're going to talk about it a little bit today when we get into Cigar Aficionado's Top 25, which is a cigar that we've always had access to. We've sold for years. It gets the number one in whatever publication. This was the 2019 was in Wine Spectator.
Yeah,
is that what it was? Which is kind of
they're the Cigar Aficionado.
Yeah,
of the wine world.
If you could sit,
they might be owned by the same guy.
I believe they're owned by the same companies. Yes. Yeah. So if you consider Cigar Aficionado as the top 25 list that most people pay attention to because it's the most popular, then Wine Spectator's wine. So it gets number one, and a bottle that we could always get at any point in time, and they would encourage us to buy. We just now, even in the vintages that didn't win, I don't know. Are we in a? There's a new there's a vintage beyond 2019 now.
We just had 21. We got
21. That's what it was. Yeah,
we got two cases
not a 20
this year.
Vintage. I don't think.
I don't. Well, that was fire
that was a fire year, right?
There may not have been, but yeah, we got two cases, and by cases I mean 6-packs of Double Diamond this year. So I'll never forget when it got number one. I was in the mountains, and I texted the rep, and I said, we need 6 cases of Double Diamond, which has never been a problem before. And he said, okay, I'll put it in. And 10 minutes later, he called me back and said, I can get you one.
Yeah.
And it's we have had this on the shelf since 2015, 2016.
Yep.
I mean, it's been a staple because it is such a good bottle.
It's my favorite bottle of wine.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, different styles, everything like that. Pound for pound, it is my favorite bottle of wine. Now, granted, I have not had everything. I've never had a bottle of Screaming Eagle. I've never had a bottle of Scarecrow. This is my favorite bottle of wine.
Yeah, and it obviously got the number one, but Schrader, as you know, makes bottles that are $500 and $600 retail. RBS, TKV, all these single vineyard bottles. But what they do is they take the leftover juice like we've talked about before, and they put it in this. So you're getting the same fruit.
Yep.
May not be single vineyard, from the same winemaker, Thomas Rivers Brown, who is one of the most famous winemakers in Napa Valley, in a bottle that retails for $100. And I would put it up against a $300 bottle. I mean,
absolutely.
It's fantastic. But the reason I brought it tonight is because it holds a special place in
our hearts.
Our hearts, because I'll never forget when you had just recently purchased the Southport location, and
we just got the Southport location.
You and Milk Guy went down there to go clean up the store, scope it out, all that stuff.
We set the humidor, set the furniture. We took it all down in a big trailer. It had been painted already.
Yep.
We went down, and at the end of the night, we smoked, still to this day, one of the best cigars I've ever smoked, which...
Incredible.
Cuban Monte Cristo.
From 2004.
2004. Off the charts amazing. So, but he took that. What we were doing, we had takeout pizza, and we drank 2018 Double Diamond out of styrofoam cups.
And I'll never forget it.
It was awesome.
It was
something we'll always remember. And it was one of the best nights. It was great. And we had a great time. That store is obviously still with us, and it's one of our favorite things. So without that, Double Dime would still be one of my favorite bottles, but it does have this little bit of anything when you can say, even when it comes to cigars, when you have a connection to it from a very special time and place, whether you had a cigar with your dad for Father's Day or when you have your first child or any child for that matter, and you're giving away cigars and you remember. Like I remember very specifically that I bought my father El Centurion is what I bought when Harper was born. And I gave him out in this lounge when Larry still owned the store. I remember the people I gave them to and everything like that. So that will always be a cigar that's like holds a special place. And that's what this bottle does. I mean, now it doesn't hurt that it is a world-class bottle.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Because I've been fortunate enough to have some of those $300 bottles of wine that are very popular, that everybody knows the names of, that's in the wine community, probably names that you know even if you're not a wine drinker, that this dusts those bottles every time. So,
and it's one of those bottles, and this is the last thing I'll say on it, it's one of those bottles that no matter whether you're sharing it with someone that knows wine or doesn't know wine, they love it. And you know, it's just so good. And like I said, that's why I wanted to bring it tonight to share it. And it goes back to Holy Grail week, right? I've been holding on to this bottle since you gave it to me at Christmas that year.
I think it was probably Christmas of 19 is when I gave it.
So I've had this bottle for 5 years sitting in my wine rack, waiting on the right occasion to drink it. Why not now?
Yep.
So
yeah, it's fantastic.
Yep.
So new year, new things coming to the store, and you and I wanted to do a little bit and talk about what kind of happened in 2024 for cigars and kind of what we're stoked about, what we're looking forward to, what our customers are hoping to see in 25. It was a year overall that had a lot of different and wide-ranging new things coming to the store.
So here's a question for you. And we touched on it last podcast. If you had to give one theme to last year in the cigar industry, what would that theme be?
If I was to theme last year for cigars, you're talking?
Yep, just cigars specifically.
I think for me, it's going to come down. I feel like 24 was the year of limited editions.
So that is how I agree with you. That's how I would frame it. Because when we were putting together our list of all the things that came out last year that were memorable, I feel like every single one of them was a limited edition almost.
A limited edition in anniversary. I consider the anniversaries limited editions because there's not expectations of those returning, I wouldn't think, depending on what it is. But it was undoubtedly, in my mind, the year of limited editions. It just seemed like there were so many things coming in, getting emailed, seeing news articles about stuff that just, you got to get this, only 1,500 boxes, only 900 boxes, only 2,000 boxes, X price. The year of limited edition certainly is how I would describe
limited editions and collaborations.
And collaborations, yeah. And collaborated limited editions. I mean, it just kind of really go down to, we'll talk about it, things like Padron Fuente Legends, things like La Union that were kind of bridging across companies. And I don't know if there was a reason for that or if it was by happenstance, if there was any outside factors that contributed to that, if coming off of cigar shortages from the years before contributed to like, hey, we have X amount of this tobacco, it's probably not enough to do a production cigar, but we could do this with it. My guess is there had to been that thought in certain things. I don't know which ones. I'm not, what to say, but they're, you know what I mean?
I do. I think that the Padron Fuente had so much to do with it because that cigar was 2.5 years in the making, I believe.
Easily. So I was at PCA. If you're listening to this podcast and for sure, you can fact check me. I feel like it was PCA 2020. Well, we went to 24 and 23. I guess it probably would have been PCA 2022.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It was announced earlier that year and then kind of
announced like it's coming. And then PCA 23, they had a whole hullabaloo about it. They had an unveiling. And then it came slightly before PCA 24, or was
Yeah.
it after?
It was a little bit after. I think the first boxes shipped around like April.
Okay.
And we didn't get ours until July.
May? Was that late?
I'd
I'd
have to go back
probably
and look
should
at
have done the research
Instagram.
and look back at it. But yeah, so yeah.
It was a tiered rollout.
Yeah.
You know, we got ours. It was so interesting how they handled it because we got ours from Fuente, but then about 3 months later, Padron called us and asked us if we wanted another one. And by that point, unfortunately, the fanfare had kind of died down a little bit.
Died down.
And, you know, we talked about it, and the idea of having to sell another 40 cigars at almost $200 a piece.
It just wasn't feasible.
No.
We had satisfied the appetite of the customer who wanted it, who was looking for it. And certainly if the demand was there, we would have probably done that. But to your point with the year of the limited edition, by the time the second iteration, and not iteration because it was the same cigars, but the second wave was coming out, there were already a few other limiteds that were being hyped and talked about that people wanted to get their hands on. Because generally speaking, when you were talking about these things, maybe we're different, and we certainly are than other cigar shops. And because I know of some cigar shops, ones we were friendly with here in North Carolina, who they took their Padron Fuente Legend box and they sold it to one person. That person said, I want it, and like that. We chose not to do that. I think we probably could have offered it out to a few customers who probably would have bought the entire thing, but we wanted to give everybody an opportunity.
It's no pun intended. It's a legendary cigar. It's a once in a lifetime thing between two of the most prominent companies in the cigar industry.
I'm not sure really who you could have put together that would have been a more, at least in from the U.S. perspective. You know what I mean? It's not, you could have collaborated two legendary Cuban brands with Cuban cigars in there or something like that.
Yeah,
but
if Cohiba and Monte Cristo did,
if you did
thing, it would sell for millions of dollars.
Right. To get your hands on that would be incredible. But in our market, I think that's probably the two producers that you could put together that's going to make something that creates that kind of hype and demand. I'm not going to lie. I don't think that the 2-year buildup, even though it was certainly not intentional, I think they had every intention that's probably coming out after the 23 show, kind of leaking it in 22, revealing it in 23, but I don't think it actually hurt it.
I think it helped it.
You can make the case it certainly helped it.
The hype was so big, and that's all anybody in the industry wanted to talk about. And did it live up to the hype? I don't know. I didn't smoke it. I know you didn't either. It's one of those things where that's a sacrifice you make as a retailer.
Yeah,
you have customers that you want to take
that many
care
cigars,
of.
We're here to sell that cigar.
Yeah,
Listen, we would love to smoke everything that comes through, but we're here because customers expect certain products to come through.
Exactly, and there were 20 of each. We had people we needed to take care of. So, there was a part of me as a cigar geek that felt like I was missing out a little bit by not smoking it, but at the same time, $180 a piece is just a lot.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I assume they will. I am interested to, and I don't think they have. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Half Wheel has not reviewed that cigar, correct?
They just did this week for Holy Grail Week.
Oh, did they really?
So the Fuente 4 Padron.
I didn't know this. So you're breaking this to me. I did not see this. Okay.
So the Fuente 4 Padron
all right.
got a 91.
Okay.
The Padron 4 Fuente, 88.
Really?
88. Yeah, and I think it was reviewed by two different people. I think Brooks did the Fuente 4 Padron and Patrick did the Padron 4 Fuente. That came out today. The Padron 4 Fuente did. Again, okay, let's talk about ratings for a second.
Yeah, sure.
So the cigar that you just brought up as your second cigar, the one-off Black and Tan, that cigar retails for $16. Made by Ilusione. It's Nicaraguan. It is limited, but not super limited like this Legends Fuente.
Yep.
They gave it a 92. Mm-hmm. It's in running for their cigar of the year. Like, when you start comparing apples to oranges, it's just so tough because I'm not saying that the Padron Fuente wasn't better quality than the one-off. It may have been, the tobacco may have been older. It was certainly more limited than the one-off, but at a fraction of the price. I mean, you could buy a whole box of these one-off. It's a 10-count box with no discount for cheaper than you could buy one of those cigars.
Yeah.
And it's different. I get it. It's different. But this is it. We see it in the wine world, just like when we couldn't get Double Diamond. We see it in the bourbon world with Pappy and a lot of other limited edition releases. Does it live up to the hype? Again, I don't know. I didn't smoke it. But the one reason that I didn't, outside of being a retailer, is because I don't know if it could.
So that's where I run into the issue is, do I feel like this thing is gonna? A lot of credit to Half Wheel. Like, I feel like they're very unbiased in their reviews when it comes to stuff. It's, again, they're not the be all end all either. Like, we've talked about this a million times. If you like a cigar, you like a cigar. I don't care what it's rated. If it's for you, it's for you. But there's probably when they're smoking that cigar, because I can't speak to what they did for that particular cigar, but generally speaking, they get their cigars from a retailer, and they pay retail price for those cigars. I think he's gotten stuff from us in the past.
The 8 and 11.
Yeah, the 8 and 11. Yeah, that's right. So, they didn't ask for any sort of special discount. They asked if they could get it, and we did that for them. So you're paying that price for it. I would think on there, I mean, I'd love to ask these guys, but I feel like there's probably a certain level of pressure for them to rate it in their own mind based on what it costs. Does that make sense?
It does.
There's some pressure to be like, $200, almost $200, Padron, Fuente, this thing's got to be up there in the mid 90s.
So not to harp on them or talk about Half Wheel, but one of the other cigars they reviewed for Holy Grail Week was the new Davidoff Oro, and it's the Oro like 176 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's 111.
Yep.
And the reason it's the 111 is because when you add up all the tobacco in that cigar, it's been aged for 111 years. That cigar retailed for $750.
Get out of Dodge.
Okay.
I did not know this.
Yep. Charlie was the one that reviewed it.
Yeah.
And I believe he gave it an 88. And in the final thoughts, he was also the one that reviewed the Davidoff Oro that originally came out that retailed for $500 that won their cigar of the year. And he said in that review, that cigar, the original cigar, is on his Mount Rushmore of cigars that he's ever smoked. And the 111 did not live up to that hype. And I appreciate them saying that, because I don't know that Charlie would agree that the Oro is worth $500, but if you know it's going to be one of the best 4 cigars you've ever smoked in your entire life, when you smoke multiple cigars a day, it might be.
Yeah, sure.
I mean...
And also the credit for... there's probably some bias in his own head then smoking that one, that he's remembering the other. And wants it to be that.
And there's
good.
probably some unfair comparison there too, just because that's natural human bias. But I appreciate the honesty and the perspective on that, because funny enough, one of the other cigars they reviewed was the El Centurion Lancero, and I think I sent you that review. I don't know if you read it.
I saw this, yeah.
So I was
going to bring this up.
That is my favorite cigar of all time.
Unbelievably good cigar.
And I only ever had the opportunity to smoke one, and it was with a special couple that used to come here, that used to live here. They were about to move. They gifted it to me, and I remember sitting on the front porch with them, smoking one last cigar with them before they moved. And that cigar was made special because of the occasion, but it also was sublime. I mean, I've never nubbed a cigar further down than I smoked that cigar. But then in that review, the Redux, where he reviewed it again, they gave it an 89, and he said it's a shell of its former self. And that's why I think Holy Grail Week's important, because sometimes we hold on to things a little bit too long, and then we're let down when we go to smoke them, and we're left wanting for what it was originally. And unfortunately, time doesn't allow that.
And that cigar was from that same time period, right?
Yes. It was a one-time thing. It was made in the Pepin Lancero sampler using Aganorsa tobacco.
So remind me, so he just did it. I saw this. How old was that cigar? It had to be, was it 17 years old?
It came out in 08. 16 years, going on 17 years old. Yeah.
Because the first rating was a 96.
Yep. And then a 93 on a Redux.
Yeah.
And this time it got an 89. And like I said.
And that's the thing to understand if you're a keeper of cigars too. That's not because that could be very well just because that cigar has probably run its course now.
Yeah, that's why
it's not good forever. Like it could stay okay forever, but you're going to lose
the zip.
a lot of the zip, a lot of the pump in it and stuff like that. So that's not him just redeciding like it wasn't as good back then. It's just, it's a different cigar today. We see that with the El Rey. We've talked about that.
Yep.
Like the El Rey Dos Habanos, after 12 years or whatever it is, just doesn't have the same pop that it did when it first came through.
Yeah, and that's why I brought this toy maker tonight, because I don't know how old this Opus is. Mm-hmm. And Opus ages really well, but I don't want to miss out on what could have been.
Sure.
And sometimes we get caught up in, I don't want to smoke the last one, when in reality it's like I don't want to miss out on that and have the memory of it, of what could have been. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially if you bought those Lanceros the day they came out and you didn't smoke any, and now you're deciding to break them out, getting something that's just not what it was meant to be.
It's a letdown.
Because this is a letdown. Because the cigars, we talk about it when we get some cigars in and we're like, they need a little time. They don't need 10 years of time. No. They need maybe a couple months in the humidor to settle, properly humidify, let some of the newness come off of them. So, you do that, and I think, you risk some of the luster coming off of it.
Yeah.
And you hate to see that.
I agree. Getting back to the collaboration thing, though, so the Fuente Padron was fascinating because it was two different companies, two different families, and two different growing regions, two different countries. Comparing it to La Union, La Union made sense, right? La Union, Pete Johnson is married to Pepin's daughter.
Yep.
And so they did this collaboration, and the picture on the box was Jaime and Pete shaking hands, of Pepin touching, their hands like as a blessing, like he's blessing this union that they have together. And again, it was really good, and it was less expensive than the Padron Fuente. It was only $60, so you could buy 3 of those for every one Padron Fuente. But again, why? Right? Limited. They only made 1,200 boxes for the States.
Yep.
They made 1,500 boxes total. 300 were for international markets. I get the limited nature of it. It came in with in the humidor. It had that cutter with it. That cool was cutter. That special La Union cutter. But I think what this year made me question, and we've talked about it before, is why? Why is a cigar as expensive as it is? And that's a different podcast episode. That's not what we're going to talk about tonight, but it is something looking back on 2024 that I reflect upon, because there were so many expensive cigars that came through our doors and went back out. And honestly, I was telling somebody today, if you'd have asked me at the beginning of the year of 2024, can the Pipe and Pint sell $100 plus or $60 plus cigars, my answer would have been, I don't know. My answer now is an emphatic yes.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I saw it happen this year.
We did. Yeah, because we did it.
But what I don't want to have happen is I don't want that to become a norm.
We talked about this a little bit on the last podcast about kind of our wish list and everything like that. That's not on my wish list. I don't think it's good for the consumer for this to become a $20 plus market.
No, and
the average, I smoke a box of cigars a month or more person is not. I just don't want to see that customer left wanting. You know what I mean? Because that's how you lose. That's how you lose, because these limited editions are cool, and say what you will about them. That's up to you. If you're buying them, you're buying them. If you're not, you're not. I'm not here to tell you it is or isn't worth it. But the average company, it's got to be 90% of their revenue is on that core middle of the road cigar.
Yeah, and it feels like they're catering to different clientele when they do this, and we've talked about that before.
Yeah, there's plenty of the cigar geek out there that raves about that stuff, but you just limited is supposed to be limited for a reason. Like if everything's limited, nothing's limited. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So like too much of it becomes an issue, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Tangential. This wine, as it opened up, it's awesome.
It's awesome.
It's awesome.
It's awesome.
Biggest news story from the year in the cigar world, in my opinion anyways, was the foundation leaving Aganorsa to go to my father to make Wise Man. And
caught both of us by surprise.
Yeah, we knew...
Not that we need to be in the know, but...
No, we knew that they were leaving Aganorsa.
Yep.
We did not know where they were going. And when the Cigar Aficionado came out and stated that they were going to go to my father, I was flabbergasted. Just because of the relationship that we have, like we talked about on the El Rey podcast, it is not great.
Not great. Not great at all.
No, not at all. And, you know, we've talked about that cigar on our very first podcast. It turned out great for him, but that was, in my opinion, unless you haven't, I don't know if you've got another news story or not, that one is just what stuck out to me when we were talking about, like, what happened last year. That was the one.
That was the most jaw-dropping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we have a great relationship with both companies. We have a great relationship with Aganorsa. We know how good Aganorsa cigars are. And yes, to go to my father, which, again, we've talked about it, it's still, you know, it's Nick's blends and everything like that. But if you're talking about two Nicaraguan cigar companies that give off two different vibes, I mean, for me personally, Aganorsa and my father give off completely different vibes and styles of the cigars they make. You know what I mean? The gap can only be so wild, but we know what Pepin and Garcia family is known for with the spice and everything like that. So, yeah, it was wild to see. It's good. The new cigar is good. We talked about it early on the podcast. It's a good cigar. We really liked the old one, but they're so different that it's hard to...
Yeah, and we had a conversation with a rep yesterday about that who is biased towards one.
Oh, sure.
I'll let you guess why.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, or fortunately, if you like the old one and went into the new one expecting the same thing, you were going to be disappointed. But it was never supposed to be the same thing. And
No. Yeah.
I think a lot of people who really liked those blends, I could see where they're let down, but as a cigar enthusiast, like I really like the change. And
I was excited to see what Pepin was going to do with something that Nick, who we are a huge fan of, does.
And this is not a slight on Aganorsa because we adore them. Mm-hmm. I feel like the new Wise Man has better staying power and more approachability, like we've talked about before, than the old one. So as a retailer, it actually really worked out kind of in our favor because we're seeing turns on these boxes.
Yep.
The cigars aren't sitting as long, and consumers and customers really enjoy them, which is good to see. And that's what you want. That's what Foundation wanted. And so I don't blame them for what they did.
Yeah, I mean, it's business, right? We talked about this last time. Like, you got to do what you think is going to help you to grow in the business. And like I said, I was excited to see what the Garcia family was going to do with something that Malia had his hands in, you know, that it's his blends and everything like that, because that's so unique compared to what he's doing. So he's had cigars now kind of all over, let's say all over the map. It sounds like a bad thing, but, you know, stuff made by Aganorsa, stuff now made by my father, stuff made by AJ. So he's really touched a lot of the big hitters, as far as manufacturing is concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. Other cigars that came out last year that we loved, shout out Kyle Gellis. I feel like I shout him out every podcast episode.
So we were,
banger year.
Absolutely.
In a nominee for the Stogie for Company of the Year.
So we talked about this. So for everybody that's listening, be patient. We're not going to give you our... We kind of want to recap the new stuff that came in 24 and what we're looking forward to in 25. So we're going to give you some of our favorites. We're not going to announce our Cigar of the Year. So we're going to, in a few weeks, in the next month, We're going to do something, whether it's a live or a recorded pod. We're doing the Stogies.
The Stogies.
The Stogie Awards, which is our Oscars, if you will, our Dundies.
The Dundies.
The Dundies. So we're going to do that. So be on the lookout for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. Kind of go over a bunch of awards that we want to give away, our own personally. Like, this is not going to be, voted upon, and, Deloitte and Touche is not going to be delivering envelopes here or anything like that. But we wanted to go over, what was the movie? What was the movie that got screwed?
Sonic 3?
No.
Madam Web?
No.
Not available for Oscar contention. I saw it yesterday.
No. Good God. To my knowledge, Sonic 3 is not up for Best Picture. It was like 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. Remember they announced the wrong winner?
Oh, yeah.
La La Land. The guy, was it Warren Beatty?
Yeah.
At the Oscars. Best Picture goes to, everybody thought it was going to be La La Land. He says, La La Land. Bam. Like, what, 5 minutes later, it comes out that is not who was on the card.
Yep.
And it was...
I don't remember. This is your realm of expertise.
It was a movie that I never saw. Now, to be fair, I never saw La La Land, and I never saw this movie. It was a movie called Moonlight, I believe. Fact checkers out there, Moonlight, one thing. So there's no, we're going to be very well aware of who wins these things. There's going to be no surprises. No surprises or anything like that. But we did want to go over, there was a bunch of new stuff to the industry and to us, more than limited editions that we kind of wanted to recap for our customers and talk a little bit about 25. But, Gellus had Crocodile.
Yep,
was one of them.
He had Gellus.
Dude, he was all over me. I'm crap with pronunciations. Yeah. I saw him at PCA. I couldn't get it out. He was all over me to pronounce it right. I was like, I'll get it. I promise.
We're still working on it.
We're still
new year, new me.
I think I literally called it like Isla de Crocodile or something like that. And he's like, you've done fucked the name of it up. I don't appreciate it. We're friends, but that's fucking terrible. Don't do it again. But what else did he had?
So he had Cocodrilo.
Yep.
He had Sarto. He had Gellus family, Maravillas.
Yep.
He had the Saltner. He had
Peace Unique,
banger. He had all the 10th anniversary stuff.
Did you get to smoke Peace Unique?
Yeah,
I did not.
I have one for you. It's the closest thing I've ever smoked to Opus 20.
Oh, you did tell me that.
I have one for you. I need to bring it. I should have brought it tonight. He had he had the El Oso 10th, Don Ronaldo 10th, La Colmena 10th. He had bits of Havana. I mean, it just felt like he could not miss.
It was
with multiple factories. Sorry to interrupt you. That's what
banger
blows
after
my
banger.
mind.
Yeah.
He was working with Aganorsa, Naxa, and La Isla, and everything he was putting out was banger after banger.
Banger after banger. And I understand, Kyle's very well known. I think maybe to the cigar masses is still, I don't want to say like a diamond in the rough or hidden gem because everybody knows it, but he's still a very small, intentionally small producer of cigars. That's the way he wants it. That's the way he likes it. And I can appreciate that. Like, he's like, this is what I do. It's what I do well. And it's what I'm going to continue to do. But like, if you're not a smoker of Warped yet and you haven't had a chance to try them, I know they're not carried everywhere. You got to kind of look for them and stuff like that.
Or go on the pipeandpint.net.
Or go on the
and order them.
pipeandpint.net. Order them.
Sponsored.
Hey, brought to you by. We'll ship them. Free shipping over $150 to your door in 2 days. But take a chance on it. They are outstanding. Done with a lot of producers that you're going to like. Does it with Aganorsa. Does it with El Titan. Like, fantastic stuff.
Yep. Yeah, I thought he had a great year. Tatuaje, they have soft spot in my heart.
Yep, they're your brand. You're
Kahonu, yep, I'm a tat guy. Kahonu in the Shade Grown Corojo Wrapper Leaf and the Tuxla. He did Wolfman. He did the La Marquesa SEs. I thought he had a solid year. We're going to talk about Tat with things to come in 25, though, because there's some things coming that I hope finally get released. AJ Fernandez, another banger of a year. Not many new releases, but what he put out was outstanding.
at least for us, I don't think there was any others, but 2 new releases this year, correct?
So, Dias de Gloria Brazil.
Dias de Gloria Brazil and the 20th. There's a good chance if you tune into the Stogies, you're going to hear that name again. The 20th was, if for my top 5 of the year, I like to do it with top 5 new stuff that I've never had before, because we could, you could go rehash stuff. We'll get into that when we're kind of our reaction to Cigar Aficionados, but new stuff in this store, got to try it for the first time. That is near the top of my list, if not at the top. One of the best new cigars to come in, not just this year.
No, it's one of the best cigars I've smoked in a long time.
I agree. And again, we don't, it may or may not be on lists yet. There's lots of lists coming. It came, kind of sporadic. I don't want to say sporadically, but super limited. And it was just absolutely just top-notch cigar.
And that's one, let's talk about price point for a second. That cigar was $25. That is one of the, if not the only cigar that I've ever smoked that I thought to myself, I would smoke this $25 cigar gladly over this $10, $12, $15 cigar,
Yep.
and I would pay it every single time.
Yeah,
it was so nuanced and complex,
so
and it burned perfectly, and it drew, and it just, I was...
And it sounds like we're like sucking them off here, but
yeah,
like it was
sublime.
that good. And did Half Wheel get on a rating of that yet or not?
91.
Yet? 91. That's right. That's right. I mean, if we were to put it in my book, it's more of a 93, 94 for me personally.
Yeah,
it boils down to the what you like type of scenario. But like, and so it's very interesting. So cigar that came in 24, right? But there's more to come in 25 with it. Nothing different, but we can talk about a little bit of it right now. So different size. Bellicoso, limited edition humidor, which we're stoked to see.
Only 250 made, 150 for the States.
And that's still like up for interpretation and like clarification, because the last thing I saw was 200 made and only 100 coming to the United States.
Okay.
But again, this falls
super
into
limited.
Right. So even if there's 150, at the most, that's what we've heard, would be coming to the United States. 150 of them, I mean, do the math, folks. There's only 50 states going. So that's how limited this thing is. We are lucky enough to be getting one.
Yep.
Right? Be on the lookout for when we do it. There's going to be a bunch of fanfare. We haven't announced this yet, but the plan is that we're going to give away the humidor, which I think is a cool way to do. The humidor, we got a chance to see it at PCA, is awesome. It's awesome. And then the cigar will be for sale. That'll get you an entry into it. But I am so stoked to smoke that cigar because I like that size. I like that Vitola. Like, I am super stoked to be able to smoke that thing. But they hit hard with 2 cigars. The Dias de Gloria Brazil is not necessarily full on my style, but has shown to be very popular with customers, really well received.
Yeah, that's the thing that I look for as a retailer with new releases, and you can't analyze this with limited editions because they're exactly that. They're limited. But when a cigar comes out as regular production, my question is going to be, does it have staying power? Mm-hmm. Because we can sell through boxes, no problem, because people will take our word and they will give it a try. But whether or not they buy it again is their decision. And if they buy it again and again and again, that tells me that my opinion of that cigar was correct.
Is validated, 100%. Like, and we've talked about this a million times. We don't just sell stuff that we like.
Yep.
There's plenty of things in our humidor that we are selling to consumers that is meant for that particular consumer that may just not be our vibe and our style. Now, we don't put knowingly something in there that is just not a good quality product.
No,
but there can be plenty of things that are of the utmost quality and utmost care that's just not for you and I. Or it's for you and not me, and vice versa.
Right. Something that I learned when I got into this business is that when you're smoking a sample or you're smoking a new cigar as a retailer, you have to take yourself out of the equation. You have to smoke it from the perspective of, okay, this is a mild cigar, so let me think about all my mild cigar customers and whether or not they would like it. Or let me think about my full-bodied cigar smokers and let me, like, would they like it? Just because I don't like it doesn't mean that it won't sell. That doesn't mean it's not good. And it's not good. Yeah, it's subjective.
Yeah, it boils down to, again, we'll parallel this with wine. Plenty of styles of wine that are not my favorite, but if you're I like Syrahs, but if you're a Syrah person or a Zin person, and I don't drink that, that doesn't make that not a great representation of what that's supposed to be, if that makes sense. Now, the one thing I'll say that for the Brazil that I found not interesting, but I found like very good, what was the fact is, was at PCA, got a chance to smoke it pre-production, still had the white band on it that the guys like do with just the printed name on it. It was awesome at PCA. And it was awesome when it came in. We have seen plenty of cigars that you and I, whether we're off at PCA or at TPE or any of the other trade shows, or just got samples in months before the production is ready by representation of the companies, where we smoke the sample and it actually works in both ways, but we smoke the sample and we're like, man, this is going to be good. Like, this is a good cigar. And it's not, we're not placating to the person who brought it, because typically we're smoking them away from that person. And the production cigar comes in and we're like, that is not what we smoked. And vice versa, where we're like, we smoked a sample and we're like, man, that's not great. That's like, doesn't feel like them. But it was a sample of stuff that had already been rolled and it just needed some time. And it comes in, we're like, wow, that is
awesome.
Much better than the first time we smoked it. And there was a few cigars of 24 that actually hit that, because I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, I may be crazy on this. I feel like our first go with that Wise Man, when it was a sample,
not great,
was not what we got in production. Way better in production. I'm right in that, right? That happened. Yeah.
It needed time.
I thought that was the case. Yes.
It needed
some time. That's exactly right.
Because Milk Guy went with you to PCA last year, and that was the cigar I was most excited about. I was excited to see what that was going to be.
Yep.
And I was so disappointed.
Yeah, we brought the samples back.
I was so disappointed.
And to be fair, there's some, the PCA was in Las Vegas last year. There's some dry desert air you got to deal with. When they're taking their samples out there, you can humidify them as much as possible. We're bringing them back. And you can deal with that sometimes. You and I have experienced that when we've been out in Vegas for a show, where the stuff that you smoke there is so dry out there that you're trying your hardest to keep them properly humidified. And just, we're at a table like, hey, let's, somebody gave us this, let's try this while we're doing this. And then bang, you're like, golly, that just fell apart.
Yeah, I'll never forget when we went to TPE and I smoked the EPC Allegiance for the first time. Mm-hmm. And it was good, even though it was dry. I think I smoked it in like 30 minutes because it was so dry. But it was good, and that's an anomaly. That's an exception to what you just said. But it is tough, and it's tough on these companies, especially when PCA was only a 9-month turnaround instead of a full year.
Yep.
They wanted to be able to showcase new product last year, but they did it with the expectation of these things were going to be coming later because we weren't ready. It wasn't ready yet. And that was one thing that we did. Now, we're not going to have to deal with that this year, thankfully.
Yeah.
It's been a full year between PCA and whatnot.
Yep.
So that's good. Shout out to one of our best-selling companies, Perdomo. Perdomo had the 30th last year. We're hoping that is going to finally be something that we're going to be carrying.
Yeah, we'll have that in this year for sure.
Because that is a cigar that I think a lot of people are really going to like. I'm going to pull out my handy notes app here to make sure we're not missing anything, because I feel like we're missing a big one with things that we like. Oh, we are missing a big one. One of my other favorite cigars from last year, and then we'll talk about one other company, the Group of Five.
Group of Five was great. Illusione.
So
good year for Illusione.
Illusione needed this year because they have been so disoriented, so unfocused because of the rebranding and everything that was going on. and they come out with this group of 5 with the classic Illusione, like conspiracy theory story, tobacco in it. We're not going to tell you what it is. It's never been grown in Nicaragua before. Is it a gimmick? No. Dion's got one of the best palettes in the industry. It comes out, we smoke it, and it's a banger. I gave a box to Mike for Christmas. And I trust Mike's palate just as much as I do anybody that is a friend that if he tells me something's good, I'm going to smoke it. And I mean, that cigar was unbelievable. And then I can't wait for you to smoke the one off Black and Tan, because that cigar was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they needed it really bad.
Yeah. They were, I mean, not trying to be offensive or anything like that, but they were in a tough spot for a minute there.
Yeah.
Like, it was a good pick me up to see some things come out from them that were.
It was like a reminder. It was like a reminder of why
awesome
Illusione was great. Like, innovation, the blends, Dion's palette. Like, this is what made Illusione great, and we're back, baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fantastic.
And then the other company I wanted to bring up was Aganorsa.
Yep.
Arsenio came out.
Arsenio was really
last
good.
year. It was really good. The Supreme Leaf that came out last year was awesome. My favorite size
I was
of
just
Supreme
going to say,
Leaf.
so that's my favorite one.
Yep.
Right? That was the best representation, I think, of that brand overall. And just so you're listening, it appears, Ethan and I both just noticed this, that it looks like this could be an audio-only podcast.
Yeah.
And I think our camera gave up on us in some way, shape, or form, but that's all right. So you're going to be able to listen to it anyway.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
That's all right. That's for our audio. If you're listening to the car regardless, so you'll be fine. I feel like that was... It was a culmination of how good that cigar has always been, because it's always been a top-notch cigar. But that size and everything that came with it, I don't know about the aging of the tobacco or anything like that. It's one of those, we're keeping it close to the vest things, but it was near perfect. Like, that was a great cigar from them.
Yep.
And I loved Arsenio a lot. I like Supreme Leaf better.
Yep.
No, that's, it just is what it is. But the Arsenio was fantastic. I love the presentation of Arsenio. The boxes look great.
I appreciate the
banding,
cohesiveness.
everything was cohesive. It was really good.
Yeah, I appreciate Aganorsa's effort to make their packaging more cohesive. And that felt like it finally came to fruition last year.
Yeah.
The 15-count boxes on Validation, Arsenio, Rare Leaf, the 10-count boxes on the anniversaries, and then Lunatic's Lunatic, and JFR's JFR. But I appreciate the cohesiveness, the look of it.
Yep.
It feels like Aganorsa was stuck in the 20th century and now has finally arrived, right? Like, they finally put the money into it, the packaging, the bands, the artwork, the advertising of it, and it feels like Aganorsa has finally shaken off whatever it was that was holding them back from stepping into looking like a premium brand, because they have premium tobacco. And so they need to look the part.
They really do. I mean, they have some of, if not the best tobacco. We know that. Like, just sometimes it takes a little bit of, and I don't feel like they're stretched too thin at times or anything like that, but their hands are involved in a lot of stuff.
I feel like a lot of these companies, and we talked about this on the last episode, that are stuck in tradition, just need a firm kick in the ass to remember that they have to keep up.
So we talked about the last one. This is what I think both you and I meant about innovation.
Yep.
Right? Like it or not, it's 2025 now.
Yeah.
You gotta be a part of it. You can do both of the things. You can keep what makes the history of it great while also participating in the modern way of doing things. Right? They don't have to be mutually exclusive. Like, you can do that.
And I will say, as a whole, and this isn't something I've thought about until now, last year was a great year for packaging. There were so many awesome boxes, presentation, taking it to the next level.
Yeah, so if you, again, we'll talk about the limited or not, nothing came in here that didn't look awesome. The Fuente Legends box, you could put legs on it and it could be a coffee table. It's so goddamn big.
Yeah.
But it's awesome. The La Union packaging was sick. The 20th from AJ was awesome.
The Piece Unique was one of my favorites.
The Piece Unique is great. Came with I think it was a concrete cast.
Concrete ashtray.
Ashtray was awesome. Supreme Leaf always has a very kind of this colorful, simple, kind of cool look that I appreciate that they did something different with that.
Arsenio was great. Like
Arsenio packaging looked awesome.
30th was great.
Yep.
Like I felt like my father's packaging's always been good, but the Don Pepin Vintage and the Fonseca
really
Maduro, like
was the Vintage a 24 cigar?
it was.
Yeah, so that's another one we kind of missed when we were talking about it. That was another new cigar in here for 24 because they brought us Vintage, Don Pepin Vintage, Jaime Connecticut was new in 24.
And Fonseca Maduro.
And Fonseca Maduro was new in 24.
Yep.
All three look good. You know, it was really a year of like new
and
introductions.
Like, again, I was talking about it with somebody today. The Placencia packaging, the LEs. You know, we unfortunately didn't get the Ometep packaging, but that box was awesome. That humidor. It wasn't even a box.
We got Year of the Snake.
Year of the Snake was sick,
awesome.
With a Culebra in the middle. Like, everybody did a really good job this year, in my opinion, of perceived value.
So that's what I was going to say. So if you're going to sell anything for a premium price, whether it is the best cigar or whatever it is of all time, it needs to look the part. And I will say there wasn't any of those that came through this year that I was like, oh, damn, dude, like if you're going to charge that much, like, at least have it look good. You know what I mean? Like everybody made the effort to package it and make it look. And it had the wrapping of something of luxury and of that quality.
And I don't even know if you know this. I am a packaging nut.
Love packaging.
Apple has done so well because their packaging has always been the standard, right? The little take off the arrow zip, the white box that it's cardboard, but it feels like
with a
quality.
Sticker every time.
Yeah, it's stupid, but it's like it makes it.
But it works.
It works. The Bose packaging, like it. I think about all of these products that I have that, like, if it came in like a little cardboard box and wasn't great, I wouldn't associate it with quality.
Yep.
And I wouldn't think it's worth the price. And I think the cigar industry is finally catching up to that. Like, look, obviously, there's still that out there. And like AJ still has the New World boxes that are cardboard. That's okay because that's a $8 cigar. What's he do for the 20th? Awesome packaging, awesome box. He's doing the limited edition humidor. He took it to the next level, and he charged the next level price for it, but it delivered, and it just was that perceived value of it because that cigar, like when you just looked at it, I think about EPC's 15th anniversary. Like that packaging was awesome. The Padron 60.
That package was sick.
Salomon, individual coffins, big box, nice box. Like it's $75, but it looks like it's a $75 cigar because of its presentation.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a great year for that.
Yeah, the packaging was sick. I feel like there's one we're missing that I was trying to like Rolodex through my head, but that may be all of them. But yeah, everything came through. With, like,
Girl with No Name.
Girl with No Name was good packaging too. Yeah.
Well, and I wasn't even. Yeah, it was good packaging, but Girl with No Name was a big storyline.
Oh, huge storyline.
Because, like we talked about, it was a cigar that everybody wanted, that you could only get at 4 or 5 different retailers, and they finally decided to take it national. So that was a big deal. Big deal for the industry.
Yeah. If we're talking 2025, what are you looking forward to? So
we were going through the list, and there's a lot. So not a lot's been announced, right?
Yeah,
PCA's in April.
PCA end of April.
We're going to see.
I will be there.
Yep.
If you're a podcast subscriber and you're going to PCA, hit us up. We'll be in New Orleans, Nolans, as they say. We eat some crawfish.
That's right.
I don't want to be
jambalaya.
Don't be getting at me for that. Yeah. But yeah, we're going to be there. So I expect we will see some sort of announcements or leakings of things that we're starting to hear about. And I'm sure there'll be things that we didn't know.
Yeah, I feel like about March we'll start seeing
we won't
what's to come.
We won't go in there blind because there's nothing that's ever announced there that you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know that was coming. So they do a bad job if they're trying to keep things secret, but I think they want you to know.
Esteban is the only exception for that.
Esteban is the... Listen, shout out Esteban, Carrera Cigars, shout out Craig. Super good dude. Would love to live his life. He's living it right. My guy like came out with a cigar at PCA last year that even the people who work for him didn't know was coming out. Like, I've never seen that before when I went up and talking to him and he's like, yeah, new cigar. I was like, oh, when did this come out? He's like, oh, well, we just found out about it today. So
3 hours ago.
I was like, but man, it's in packaging and everything. How are you just learning about it? Like, it's in a box and everything, dog. Like, how are you just knowing about this? But outside of that, I don't think there's going to be any surprises for us when we get there. I think we're going to have a pretty good feel as to what people are going to be talking about when we get there. We've talked about this a little bit here in the shop. We're eager to see it. I think we're probably going to at least see the presentation of Aganorsa's 25th, which I think is going to be something that we're stoked to see. But
so I may not have told you this, an update.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay.
An update from the rep. So that cigar was slated to come out last year, right? It was supposed to ship in November originally.
And listen, not the first cigar company to tell us something's coming in 1 year and it's not coming until the next.
Right. The reason it didn't come in November was because the boxes weren't ready. And Aganorsa, to give them credit, are pulling out all the stops. They are using the factory that makes the Cohiba Cuban Bahique boxes to make their 25th anniversary box. And they had to get it right, and they're made in Spain, and Spaniards don't move quickly when it comes to those things. So they've been waiting on those boxes for like 6 months, kind of like our 25th anniversary cigar. Anyways, so that cigar actually may be here before PCA. They're saying that it may come in March. That is what they're projecting. That is what they're expecting. There is something else coming in PCA, though, for Aganorsa, and that's the JFR 20th anniversary.
Yeah, you told me about that today. Yep. This is actually new news to me. You kind of broke this to me earlier. So we'll be excited to. We've heard some rumors about what it may or may not be.
We can't say that.
We're not going to say. That is for internal discussion only. But yeah,
trade secret.
Yeah, if we had a second bottle of Double Diamond down us, I probably would reveal all the secrets right now. But so that's interesting to me, and I'd like to actually I want your opinion on this, which is if you were running that company.
I already know what you're going to ask me. Would
you wait?
Yep.
And hold that to PCA now?
No reason not to.
All right. It already couldn't come out in 24.
And there's only... Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And you're talking March of 25. And let's say that's the case. And you're ready to ship it March 15th. Right? It's on the Ides of March. Isn't that March 15th? The Ides of March is that the 5th?
I don't know, man. Caesar got stabbed in the back.
I don't know how to react to that. But let's just say the 15th of March, it's ready to go. We can ship it to produce all the retailers across the country. Aganorsa's select accounts. I think that's who it's going to, right?
So that's what I was going to say. This cigar, like, let's talk limited real quick. They're only making 1,000 boxes. It's Aganorsa Select Premium or whatever extra qualification they add to it is getting it. And we're only getting 5 boxes.
Yeah, and listen...
And that is going to be real tough.
We are huge supporters of Aganorsa. We are as select of account as it gets.
Yeah, and that's going to be extra tough as a retailer because that's a cigar that I would buy a box of sight unseen.
Yeah, 100%.
To keep to age because I love them so much. Yep. And it's like we may only get to smoke one, which is tough.
That's going to be a bummer.
Tough.
That's going to be a bummer. Because, I mean, I would hate to be disappointed, but...
That's the cigar I have the highest expectations for next year.
So that's what I was going to say. So going back to my point, which is if it's ready March 15th, PCA is only 6 weeks after that, barely, maybe 5 weeks. No, it's not even. It's a month.
It's a month.
Yeah, I had the end of April. It was actually April 14th, I think, is when PCA is. So you're talking 4 weeks. Don't you just hold that?
Well,
do a whole hullabaloo at the biggest trade show of the year, present it, get your orders in, make a deal about it.
Especially when nobody's seen it. No. It's not like it was at the only way you've seen it is
we don't know anything about it.
Nope.
We don't know what the packaging looks like.
We do.
Oh, you do know what the packaging looks like.
They posted a picture on Half
like?
Yeah, they posted a picture. Terrence did a live on the Facebook.
I take that back. You're right. I saw it.
We've seen it, black and gold.
Yep, you're right.
Looks great.
My apologies. I did see that. You're right.
Looks great.
Yes.
But nobody's seen it in person.
No.
So if you're only going to wait a month, I want it.
I want it too.
But an extra month is only going to help, in my opinion.
Agreed. Listen, that's a big deal company, and it's a big deal cigar. It's okay to make a big deal about it. Everybody else makes a big deal about it.
Yep.
All right, there's no reason you can't do the fanfare that Fuente and Padron did with Legends.
Yeah.
I mean, I expect that cigar to be better. I expect that cigar to be... My expectation of that is the best cigar I smoke next year. Pardon me, this year. Because now we're in 25. That is the... what's the word? But that is for which the pride that I hold Aganorsa.
Yeah, it's for me. The lofty expectations that you have.
It's beyond that, but it's beyond that where they're great partners and that we consider Terrence a friend and stuff like that. I just feel
he
like
got
they
married.
Also didn't know that.
Yeah.
News to me. Thanks.
Sorry.
Thank you for the invitation to the wedding. That's fine. It must have been a small ceremony. But I hold them in such high regard. I love their cigars. What they make is what's for me personally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I love what they do. So again, that may not be everybody else's, but I just feel like that cigar is just going to have to be awesome.
Yeah.
And I would hate to know what the feeling is like if I smoke it and it's not up to what I believe it. And I hope it, and I don't expect it to be. They do awesome stuff. So yeah, that's not something that I expect.
I'm going to cut and light this opus. So I'm going to ask you while I'm doing that, what else are you looking forward to next year?
I don't know. There's been such little kind of leaking. Honestly, along with Aganorsa 25th, I am looking forward to probably the Bellicosa of AJ Fernandez the most. I'm looking forward to see what people do that may be a little bit different. Like, it's kind of, this sounds stupid, but you get this with like music. Like, there's, people will tell you like, oh my God, that sounds like something else. Well, there's only so many notes. You're right. There's only so many different things that you can do with cigars. So I would be eager to see if somebody's going to do something different, something unique, but not something that's like different just for the sake of being different.
It's like Group of Five.
Yeah, Group of Five was different, but was done right. Like, it was done in a way for which produced something really good.
Well, and that segues a little bit into the new factories, right? So there are two prominent companies
going to new territory.
Going into new territory. The first one is the Fuentes have their factory in Nicaragua. Now, will we see a Nicaraguan Fuente next year? Probably not.
Yeah, I think that's probably logistically probably a 26 cigar.
Yep.
And we've been told so much. We're not breaking news. It may come in 25. Who knows? And frankly, who cares? But I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, it'll get here when it gets here. But that to me has the most at stake.
Yeah, because if it goes bad, Fuente's putting their reputation as one of the best Dominican cigar companies.
Fuente's a massive company that makes one of the most popular limited cigars, the most sought after in Opus, right? Like it or not, Opus is on the tip of people's tongue when they talk about cigars, right? It can be, you know how we do, if you're a customer here, you know how we do Opus drops. We do them in one big drop on a Saturday. We rush everything out of the store, and you're not going to see it again for months. But does that keep our customers from coming in and asking for Opus 10 times over the next 3 months? No. That's a cigar people clamor after. And now you're venturing into territory. It may be unknown for you as a company, but this is not unknown for others. There are, personal opinion, the best cigars in the world are made in Nicaragua. That's just how I feel, right? You may be a Dominican smoker, you may be a Honduran smoker, you may be a Cuban smoker, and I'm actually including Cuba when I say that. I think the best cigars in the world are made in Nicaragua. You have AJ, you have the Garcias, you've got Aganorsa, you have all these companies ripping heater cigars coming out of Nicaragua, and you're making your first venture into there. There is a ton of pressure to come out with something that's on that level of cigar. It can't be bad.
The one question I have is, how are Fuente smokers going to react to smoking a Nicaraguan Fuente? And what I mean by that is Dominican Fuentes are mild to medium at best, sans Opus, right?
Yep.
They're much more approachable. Nicaraguan tobacco is known to be stronger. It's known to be more aggressive. It's known to be more spicy. It is not something that Fuente smokers...
It's far, far more nuanced than what comes out of the Dominican. And I don't mean that as a slight to the Dominican. I smoke plenty of Dominican cigars that are really good, but there is such a scope that you can get in Nicaragua from Jalapa to Esteli, made from tobacco grown in the same country, that are so vastly different.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I will say this, just because I just looked this up. If every Dominican cigar tasted like this toy maker...
that good to start?
Yeah, it might be all I smoke. This Opus guy, thank you. I'll text you and say that too, but holy crap. But yeah, I mean, it's such a departure from what you're known for that it could go south really quickly.
It could. And forgive me for not knowing this, and I feel like you're probably going to know the answer to this. What area is Fuente going into? Are they a Jalapa or Esteli?
I actually don't know.
So that
I assume Esteli.
See, I would have assumed Jalapa.
Well, Jalapa fits their profile better, but most of the factories are in Esteli. Now, you've been there, I haven't. I don't know what the landscape looks like.
Factory at Esteli, a lot grown in Jalapa, but then brought down there for roll. So, but you know as well as I know, the tobacco grown in the factory or not, where's the tobacco coming from in Nicaragua is the biggest question mark.
And we've seen a preview of their Nicaraguan tobacco in the Rare Pink. Mm-hmm. It does have some of their Nicaraguan tobacco in it. It's widely accepted as a very good cigar.
It is, yeah.
People clamor after it. They have what we like to refer to as the Sex Panther coming out.
The Sex Panther
later on, hopefully this year, which is actually called the Black Panther.
60% of the time, it works every time.
That's exactly right. So they do have that coming out this year, but we have seen it. So I'm interested to see that now.
But the interesting thing is, and I apologize for interrupting you, is because I don't want to leave that topic quite yet, is yes, it's in that Rare Pink. Nobody would confuse that pink for a Nicaraguan cigar, though.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Right. And there's very little of it in that Rare Pink. There's still Dominican tobacco in it. It's got an Ecuadorian wrapper leaf. So, for those who don't know, Opus is such a big deal because for so long, people said you could not make a Dominican Puro because the leaf was too thin.
Yep, too delicate.
You couldn't do a wrapper leaf, right? Yep. So Fuente invested millions of dollars in developing a wrapper leaf and tobacco that they could do a Dominican Puro with, and that is Opus X. And it is regarded by many as the best Dominican Puro of all time, and I would agree with that.
I 100% agree. Totally agree.
Is Fuente going to be able to make the best Nicaraguan Puro of all time? Guess no, and that's not an offense to them.
No. First look, I would say no. Like, you can't tell me that you're going to come in year one and dethrone some people who are or who have spent their entire career making Nicaraguan cigars. It's a different cigar.
It is a different
really
cigar,
is.
and God forbid they make a Nicaraguan Puro Opus X, because the that's like Buffalo Trace making a Scotch.
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
Pappy Van Winkle Scotch. Like you cannot.
The expectation of that would exceed Legends.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, totally agree. It just would be the hype would be off the charts, and if you are and they're not trying to convert anybody, but if you smoke Fuentes, that's your cigar, like all day, every day. I doubt that you're going to pick up a Fuente Nicaraguan and be like, yeah, all right.
No.
Because if you do, then you've probably been smoking the wrong cigar the entire time. Like, if you just suddenly love Nicaraguans, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, especially when we're talking about like the Hemingway. Cameroon wrapper, or Dominican binder and filler. It's medium, it's nutty, it's creamy, it's got a great sweetness to it, it's got a touch of spice, it's got that cedar note, it's got some floral and citrus notes to it. You put a Cameroon wrapper leaf on a Nicaraguan binder and filler, and that has changed the entire scope of what that cigar is. Like, it's nowhere near as approachable unless you're using lower priming Nicaraguan tobacco, which is not great.
Nope.
And I don't think you're going to please the Dominican Fuente smoker, nor are you going to please the Nicaraguan cigar smoker. So it's going to be really fascinating to see what exactly Fuente does at this factory, and I'm excited for it. But at the same time, I would not want to be Carlito Fuente right now. I would not want to be faced with that proposition, because you have such lofty expectations by your customer base, by the industry, and I don't know that it can be lived up to.
So that's an interesting take. And I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you, but I think a person like Carlito sees this as, like, I can do this, bro.
If he does it right, he will go down as arguably the best cigar blender of all time.
Yeah. I could very much see this. And it's not an ego thing, but like, I guess what my point is like, if you're in that position, not because it's a high position, but because of the success you've had and what you can do, that you can feel like you have the gravitas to go in there and do something. Because I don't think by any stretch that this is going to be done half-assed.
No.
Like, they are putting 100% of the time into doing something that's going to be of high quality and caliber, right? It's just like, are they going to be willing to accept, like, in year one, it's here. All right, year two, let's go here with it. Like, take the baby steps to get you something. But who knows? I mean, the first one we smoked may be off the charts, and like, they've used these years of Dominican making into something that's, it wouldn't be the first company to do it.
Well, and I just thought about this from an innovation perspective. I would love to see what happens if they take their Opus X wrapper leaf seed and they plant it in Nicaragua. Like, what is the soil and the climate?
Now we're cooking with something that's
what is
different.
that going to do to that tobacco?
Yeah. Take something that's already up there at the top.
Yeah,
do something a little different with it. Like, let's see what happens. Let's push the envelope a little bit.
Take some Piloto Cubano and plant it in Jalapa and see if you can get that musty, kind of like orangey mushroom note with the Jalapa sweetness. Like,
it's going to be the most interested I am to smoke a cigar maybe ever. I mean, honestly, I'm not the most, I don't want to say excited, because I'm probably more excited to smoke Aganorsa's 25th, but I'm so interested to know what it's going to be. Do you know what I mean? Like
I do. And so I will. So I agree with you from the standpoint of I am very excited to see it. But the one that I'm more interested in is what my father is going to do in Honduras. And the reason I'm more interested in that is because I am a tat guy. I am a my father guy. I really like their tobacco. And you know what I don't like that much? Honduran tobacco. I do not and have never liked Honduran tobacco that much.
It's not something that appeals to either of us.
No, there are expectations, or not expectations, there are exceptions to that.
Sure.
Like Aladino, some CLE stuff, Plasencia's stuff.
Yep.
But my father is known for big spice, big pepper, like they are Nicaraguan encompassed. Like when I think of a Nicaraguan cigar company, it's my father. You know what I mean? And they have this new factory in Honduras. And Pete, I know for a fact, because he talked about it on Mike's Live that he did at Christmas time, is already messing around with Honduran tobacco. And like Tatawahe is just known for Nicaragua. And I don't know if it's going to work.
Well, when you start getting different things into the hands of people who know what they're doing, you're probably going to. So for the people who may be listening to this and who don't smoke a Honduran cigar. So if I mean, Dominican, Nicaraguan cigars, it was Dominicans, we're throwing Cubans out, but Dominican cigars were kind of, as far as probably purchase popularity for all those years, near at the top.
Yep.
Right? And then Nicaragua has really raced up there, right? But Honduran is kind of, there are other things, you know, kind of boutique-y, kind of fingerlings that step off, whether it's different.
Cheap. There's a lot of cheap cigars out there that use Honduran tobacco.
Right. So that's the thing. So Hondurans kind of trail, but if the average person is listening who either only smokes Dominicans or only smokes Nicaraguans or just kind of stays away from Hondurans, what is it about Hondurans that makes them different?
To me, Honduran tobacco has this very earthy, loamy oiliness that coats your palate, and it will not go away. And it sticks with you. And like when someone says that a good cigar, you can't taste it after you smoke it, that's the grade of the tobacco, and that's what I think of when I think of Nicaraguan tobacco.
Yep.
And the best of the best Honduran tobacco still sticks with me. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like, I love, and I know you love, Aladino and what Justo is doing.
I think Justo does maybe the best job.
Justo or Plasencia, because the 151's up there too.
151 is really good.
151, but like as a company that just makes Honduran cigars, Aladino is the best.
I think Justo does the best job. They stay strictly in the Honduran space.
Yeah, and you know the interesting thing about Honduran tobacco is it's not as strong as Nicaraguan tobacco, but. And I appreciate what Justo's done from an innovation perspective. You know, we had the Cameroon Reserva this year that we didn't talk about. The first cigar,
yeah, it's another.
The first cigar ever made with 100% Honduran grown Cameroon.
Good cigar too, by the way.
Yeah, really good cigar. And he's got all these other lines that he does, but I still don't gravitate to them. Like when I walk in the humidor, I'm not going out and grabbing an Aladino unless I'm in the mood for it. Like, I really have to be in the mood to smoke it. And that's not a slight at Justo. I really do like his cigars. But the profile that Honduran tobacco has is just not something that agrees with me. And when you think about the company that I love the most going to the region that I hate the most, hate's a strong word, but, you know, I dislike the most, and you're telling me that they're going to be putting out a cigar using tobacco from that region, I don't know how to feel about it.
Again, this is the innovation that I was talking about. Because this is a company who's known very much about a very specific region of a very specific country and how they make cigars, right? With a very specific profile. Outside of... My father things don't taste the same, but they have...
They're distinct.
They're distinct, and they have a framework for which they're built upon, right? that they have a baseline for which that is how we build a cigar. It may not be how this person is, but this is how this family, this company does it. And to venture out into a place for which I don't think that specific framework exists is cool for sure, but also very much like you said, like, whoa, like what is going to happen with the cigar? Because there's a chance that this comes out and is one of the most unique and creative new cigars going.
And let me say
it's
this.
So different.
Let me say this. If anyone's ever going to change my mind on Honduran tobacco,
it would be them.
It would be them. And I hope they do.
I do too.
Like, I hope that Fuente is unbelievably successful in Nicaragua, and I hope that the Garcias and Pete are unbelievably successful in Honduras. And that is what I want in the industry, that innovation, that excitement. But at the same time, looking at it from both sides of the lens, I am a little nervous because what I don't want to have happen is I don't want either of these companies to stain their name. You know, like I don't want a cigar to come out that's not good and not well accepted, and then they stop trying.
Agreed. Like, it's also a situation, though, if it goes the opposite, and this thing is just off the charts good. Listen, if my father comes out with Honduran cigars that are raved about, you can almost, with a snap of a finger, count on at least a few companies then venturing into Honduras.
Yeah, and that's what I want to have happen. I know that's what you want to have happen because that's the innovation. It's the same thing with Dominican companies going to Nicaragua, Nicaraguan companies going to the Dominican. Like, it's good to see, but it has to be done well. But I will say this: if any companies are going to do it, I have the utmost faith in Fuente and my father.
Yeah, I mean, yes, yeah. If we're talking about companies that we could choose to go into these different places, they would be amongst the top of the leaderboard, right? I think if it's Perdomo or something like that ventured out to do something, we would trust in that. I think Aganorsa are the same, but
so this is a weird comparison, but I know you know where I'm getting at with this. For the longest time, we wondered what La Colonia, the original La Colonia, would taste like with a Connecticut wrapper leaf.
Yep.
We thought it would be the most Cuban-esque thing of all time. And we wondered and we wondered and we wondered. And we finally got the sample. And it lived up to the hype. It unfortunately never came to fruition for a multitude of reasons. But it was the La Colonia profile and the Nicaraguan spice with the creaminess and citrus and herbal grassy notes of Connecticut wrapper leaf. And it was awesome. And so that kind of wondering is what's led me to this point, right? Like, can Pete Johnson or Jaime Garcia produce a cigar that is just as good, if not better, than the Plasencia Cosecha 151 or Aladino Corojo Reserva? I sure hope so. And I'm excited to find out.
If I was to ask you, you could have one or the other. Either the Fuente Nicaragua ends up being a banger, or the My Father Honduran ends up being a banger. Which would you rather see?
I have two different answers.
So answer me like this: from a retailer's perspective,
Fuente,
and then a personal perspective.
From a retailer's perspective, I'd rather the Fuente Nicaragua be better because the market that is opened up by that and the more people that get introduced to Nicaraguan cigars by that outweighs the number of people, in my opinion, that get introduced to Honduran cigars by my father or Tatuaje doing a good Honduran cigar.
Yeah, because you play out the scenario where they're both great. My father or not, the Fuente Nicaraguan would outsell that cigar from a retailer standpoint 5-1.
Easily.
Would be my guess, right?
Easily.
Yeah, just the profile, the name, everything that would surround that would be, and that's, again, not a slight on my father, just how the palate is working at the moment.
Yeah.
And how much we personally love Nicaraguan cigars. Yep. Like, so eager to see how that's going to be. Anything? What else come in 25 that you could think of?
25 LFD 30th anniversary. Hopefully, we'll see.
Under. All right. Let me put it this way. I'm going to give you December 31st, 2025 as your betting over under. Does that cigar come before or after that date? Now, and to set expectations, this is a cigar that we saw and pre-ordered at PCA 2024.
And got a letter about apologizing for the fact that it's not coming.
Correct.
I am going to take the under.
So you think it comes this year?
And the only reason that I'm taking the under is because there are a select few retailers that have already gotten it. If no one had already gotten it, I would take the over, and I would actually take the odds. I would call FanDuel, and I would say, give me the odds on LFD 30th anniversary never shipping.
Like never shipping ever?
Never shipping ever. And it just being lost in time and a thing that they wanted to do but never got worked out, and I would take that bet. But because retailers have gotten it, I do think that it comes in 2025. Do I think it comes Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4? I'm going to call Q2. I'm going to say it comes sometime during the summer. How about you?
I think we'd be lucky to see it by the holiday season.
Okay.
I really do. I think if we were going to see it before then, we would have had some sort of indication. Now, to be fair, our representation is lacking at the moment with that company because they're in a transition period. I guess when the person doesn't work there anymore and nobody now works there, I guess that's a transition period. So we may not be getting the full information that we're entitled to. So that may change my mind on this. We may.
I'm going Q2 because of PCA. I think we go to PCA, we get an update. They're going to showcase it again, and it's shipping. It's shipping Q2 because of PCA. That is why I'm going Q2.
That would be my only bet on why that would be the case because of how PCA is oriented. Because God's honest truth, I think if PCA was in July, it would be coming after July.
I agree. This is the Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen MVP conversation at the moment, right? Like you could give it to either of them. Eye test says Josh Allen, numbers say Lamar, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna go eye test. I'm gonna go Josh Allen and say it's coming Q2 and give LFD the benefit of the doubt, even though they don't deserve it.
I was gonna say I'm not sure why you're giving that benefit of the doubt, and I hate to say it, but that's an earned reputation at this point. You know what I mean? Like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, kind of thing. So, we set customer expectations. That just is what it is. But
other things coming.
Yeah.
Not to.
Yeah. Give me a little bit of your list here.
LFD here.
Before we bang on them too hard.
Yeah. We talked about the Sex Panther.
La
Union Part 2.
First of all, rename it Sex Panther.
Yeah, they should. Come on, Fuente.
If you're going to name the other things Pussycat,
Pussy Juice,
and Sophisticated Hooker,
BBMF, whatever.
Call it Sex Panther, bro.
Yeah. Hey, accept it. Just accept.
Lean into it.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a copyright thing. I doubt it, but
so La Union Part 2 should see that within the next month, probably.
Can you, Tat Guy, that's a different cigar.
Two different cigars,
right? And it's not a redux of the same two that we've already seen. This is going to be two different.
The first two were Habano and
it was
Shea Grown Corojo.
It was a My Father for Tatuaje, a Tatuaje for My Father.
Yep. And so one was I can't remember which one was which.
It don't matter.
One was a Shea Grown Corojo. One was Ecuadorian Habano. This one is going to be Ecuadorian Sumatra and Connecticut Broadleaf. I want to smoke the Connecticut Broadleaf.
I'm just going to say that.
Now,
do you know which one's for which? The Connecticut broadleaf is that's probably tap for my father, right?
Actually, I think it's opposite.
Is it? Okay.
I think Pete's making the Sumatra for my father, and my father's making the Connecticut broadleaf for Pete. I will say this tangentially: if you're listening to this and you want a Tatuaje Anarchy NFT, do not pay the money for it.
Really?
It was good. It was really good. Dare I say, great. There are other Tatuaje and My Father products out there that have a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper on them that are $13 that will make you just as happy.
So I would say something not too dissimilar about that Dubai, which is it's not my favorite opus. It's not a 20th. It's not as full as the other opus. So if you're a strong opus person, I don't think that's the opus for you.
Yep.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
How's that one-off?
The one-off is fantastic so far.
Yeah, so is this toy maker. And
yeah.
Anyways. So yeah, La Union Part 2 is coming. The personal, excited. Tatuaje Boris Karloff has been announced. It's coming within this month, supposedly. Only 1,000 boxes made. Jeff Borshowitz down at Corona Cigars got 150 of those boxes. I may or may not have bought one.
Suck it, Jeff.
Yeah, I know. Because I emailed the rep and said, "Are we getting it?" And he said, "I don't know," and it's not something I want to miss out on.
Can't blame Tech Guy for that.
I hope to see Pete's 50th birthday cigar finally shipped, since he's going to be 55 this year. And then the other biggie.
Listen, there's something to said for waiting. Like, be patient.
I'm not good at waiting.
I mean, why wouldn't you expect the guy's 50th cigar to come 5
Well, we'll get LFD's 30th on their 50th anniversary if they make it that far.
Yeah.
But the other biggie that I know you're excited about and I'm excited about is it is Foundation's 10th anniversary this year.
It's going to be a great cigar.
There's going to be a Foundation 10th anniversary. I don't care how much money it is. It's going to be a banger.
It's a must buy.
It's going to be a banger.
It's a must buy. It's a must smoke from anybody here. Again, we'll tell you that just because we don't like it or do like it, it's not necessarily what we sell. We are huge supporters of Foundation. We love that company. We love the guys who run it. We love the people who work there. That aside, the cigars they make are fucking awesome.
Yep.
They are awesome cigars.
They're all bangers.
He is, along with Kyle, two of the most innovative and keeping what I would call and bridging this modern to traditional cigar making and companies going. We talked about this when we first brought them in, that we had expectations of that company growing to a point where they are one of the biggest players in the game. I think they are getting there faster than even I thought they would. They're just doing it right. They don't rush. They take their time, but they don't take too much time. They're not slow about things. The people that they have in place who work for Nick, who run sales, run marketing, shout out Nate, shout out Eduardo.
Guy. Love that guy.
These guys just know what they're doing, and they do it well, and they do it for him, and they like working there. So
yeah,
sounds like we work there. And
we use a
kind of
phrase,
wish we did.
We use a phrase around here. They just get it.
They just get it.
They get it.
He gets it. Like you said, Kyle gets it. We feel like Aganorsa gets it. A lot of these companies do, but like these young, I mean, I think Nick's as old as I am, if not older, but I just love what he does and how he goes about it. I don't think he's pretentious about it. I think he takes real care and thought into what they do. And I just have yet to be disappointed in anything they smoke. Some things sell better than others. There's price points in all different variations. I love that they have their upper level stuff, but I love that they take care of a core product that is a price point sensitive product that people love, and they do really good by it. There's no way it's not an awesome cigar.
Yeah.
I just don't believe it could not be.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
I agree. And like we said, there's going to be a lot more stuff coming. PCA's in April. So we'll have a good idea of what.
Do we have like an expectation of when the 10th is supposed to be around? Like what time of the year that?
I haven't been
My
told.
guess is that's a display at PCA.
Yeah, my guess
They
is
talk
July,
about it.
August,
I would
September.
think that's a summer to going into fall cigar would be my guess.
Yeah.
I think that's a good time to release something like that.
Yeah.
The summer is an interesting time for cigars. Like we do well in the summer. We slow a little bit, but
So
that's cigar smoking outside time. So
Yeah.
like,
yeah. So not to abruptly change subject, but I have one question for you that we didn't talk about before we get into our quick recap of Aficionado's top 25. If you had one guess of something that was going to happen in the industry this year that hasn't been talked about, you hadn't seen coming, a sell, a buy, whatever, you got to guess on what you think might happen this year? FDA related, anything cigar industry related. Sales, number, anything. And I have one if you want to get us, if you want to have a second.
So anything I say is hypothetical. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a big dumb idiot. Okay? I think there's a good chance that a very big brand gets purchased this year.
Do you have a guess on who it would be?
I think there's a chance that Rocky Patel gets sold this year.
You stole my guess.
I think there is a chance that Rocky sells. I don't know anything about it. I don't know. I've not heard this or anything like that. I think there is a chance. I think there's a chance that a couple others might be available.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I think there's a chance that Rocky sees an opportunity to put that with a company that puts it on a much even larger stage than it already is, because that's a big brand.
So that was going to be what I said.
Okay.
That's why I brought this up.
All right.
But if I had another guess of something I thought that was going to happen, I think Altadis either, and it's much like 99% the one more likely that it happens this way. I think Altadis has to make an acquisition of somebody.
Yep.
Or they get sold.
You think Altadis gets sold?
Well, like I said, 99% chance they buy something versus 1% chance they get sold. But the reason I say that is because STG, who is their largest competitor,
Yep.
has been buying up so many boutique brands and boutique companies, pipe tobacco companies, that they are making waves. And Altadis hasn't done that. What Altadis has going right now is they were recently purchased
Yep.
by a Chinese conglomerate who wanted a stake in the Cuban market.
The Habanos SA, yeah.
What then happens with the other 50% of that company? So 50% being Cuban market, Habanos
cartel.
SA, 50% being Altadis legacy brands and JR Cigars and
Yep.
Casa de Monte Cristo.
Yep.
Do they want to continue on dealing with that? Or do they decide the Chinese market, because it's owned by a Chinese conglomerate, do the Chinese say, we never wanted any part of this, and so we're going to sell it and not have to deal with it and just have our stake in the Cuban market?
I think that playing off of that, I think that that overseas, Middle East, Asia, China, that the market is so hot that anything other than acquisition would surprise me. And that if it is STG that you're competing with, right? And they're gobbling up these kind of what we'll call boutique brands. They're names, but boutique brands, excuse me. From a business standpoint, and you're Altadis, and you've got that kind of leverage, I think you would not go out and just do what STG's doing and scoop up another boutique brand and be like, oh, look, we got one too. I think you would throw the hammer down and pull in a massive name like Rocky.
Yeah, I agree with you. The other one that's a wild card in all of this that is trying to make a name for themselves right now is Laudisi. Purchase Caldwell. Does Laudisi go out and purchase another boutique?
I could see them with a boutique brand. I mean, obviously that's dependent on how they feel like Caldwell's going at this point, because
yeah, I'm going to throw a really, really, really random name out there that I have not heard literally any inkling that this company wants to sell, but I could see it happening.
This is sick.
We're
put it out there.
Yeah.
Put it out there.
Crown Heads.
Yeah, I'd buy that. I'd buy your idea and I'd buy that.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
But it feels like now Laudizi's trying to step into
That
the
fits
cigar
in the
market.
Caldwell
Yeah, and
pigeonhole, if that you know what I mean.
For a long time, I thought that Illusione was going to sell to STG. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. I thought that Espinosa may be on the market. It doesn't seem like that's the case anymore. So who else is out there that's boutique-y that may want out at this point? Crown Heads is who comes to mind. And that's the only reason I think that. I've literally heard nothing about them wanting to sell.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that.
It's a fascinating thought experiment when looking at the industry to see who might be ready to get out and who could benefit from buying said company.
And I don't, you don't, from a businessman's perspective, you don't necessarily have to be ready to get out to sell. And there's nothing that suggests selling or being acquired suggests that anything is going wrong.
Well, it's like AB.
Like, business is a natural evolution of, like, at some point there is a level for which only a greater entity can take your brand to. And if you want to see that, you're going to need that, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're talking to somebody like Crown Heads. Like that's not to, again, you, like you said, you don't know anything about this. He may be very well and happy with the current lot of what they sell and how it goes, stuff like that. But if you want it to be, if you want your legacy of it in Crown Heads to be at another level, it takes a lot of cash.
Yeah, and the question also becomes, what dollar figure can't you turn down? Because I think Alec Bradley, when they saw the $75 million put in front of them.
Listen, Godfather-wise, the line of, I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse is a real thing. Like, if you start any company, I don't care what kind of business you in. I don't care what kind of business you in, man. You reach a certain point where, or a certain dollar amount where if somebody presents that to you, that validates your success and validates what you're trying to do or what you've done to that point. You know what I mean? So, like, you owe it to yourself and to what you've built to that point to look at that. I think just blindly saying no is, maybe cutting off your nose to spite your face type of thing. You know what I mean? So, like, you have to look at every avenue depending on what you want that legacy to end up being. So
I agree with you.
It's not...
I agree with you.
You can't just poo-poo anything. I think if you even, no matter what you've built up, you owe it to yourself. A lot of times you owe it to employees to, like, look at what that might look like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
We've seen these companies, SDGs bought, you talk about Laudizi and Caldwell. I think Robert Caldwell looked at it in a standpoint like, does this take this brand to another level that maybe I wasn't able to, or was it maybe willing to do? Like,
Yeah.
maybe you reach a point like it's now time for somebody else to take the reins and elevate this to another spot.
I think
Room
about-
101, right? That was last year, right?
Well, and that from a brand perspective, and I'll make this quick, look at what my father did with Fonseca, right? Different. Quesada owned the name, but my father bought it and has turned it into something new. But bringing up Quesada's a company I could see selling.
Yeah.
That's another one I didn't think of. Now, with his daughters taking over the business, I'm sure they're going to give it their fair shot. But Quesada is not what it used to be.
No.
And so if you're Laudizi and you could acquire Quesada, the factories, the blends, the name, and have the staff to be able to go out and take it back on the road and reintroduce it in the market, could be a good buy.
Yeah, it really could. I mean, the nameplate's there and everything.
You have
like
a number one cigar of the year under your belt. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be very... You want to grind some gears for a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember, what was it, Family Guy? I'm gonna
What really grinds my gears?
What really grinds my gears?
Grinds my gears.
I want to do a little, like, we're not going to be the first pod or video to kind of recap. So Cigar Aficionado does their top 25 every year. They wrapped up, right? What was it? Right at the new year? Right at
Yeah, it was the week before Christmas. I think it was like 17th
Christmas.
or so.
I want to recap it a little bit. I mean, we can literally recap these 25 cigars real quick, but I want to talk about the list in general and kind of what your feeling is on it. So let me pull it up real quick.
While you're pulling it up, I'm going to say this, and this isn't a slight on any single cigar publication out there, because it's even Half Wheel, because we speak so highly of Half Wheel, but Cigar Aficionado's list is the only list that matters. It's the only list that moves the needle in regard to sales. No one else is coming in here asking if you have Half Wheel or Coupe or Dojo's number one cigar of the year. I love all those guys. There's not a slight. Cigar Aficionado's list is the only one that matters.
Yeah. And this is, no matter where you're at on this list, it's not a slight on your cigars, because you didn't ask to be put on the list, or, you wouldn't know wherever you have these cigars. And when we talk about this, so my biggest issue with this list, and it's not the 2024 list that I have necessarily an issue with, I wish the list was of new cigars for that year.
Yeah. I feel like it should be.
I feel like that just should be what the list is. Like, I don't understand, because if we're rehashing cigars, then why isn't last year's number one?
Yep.
Right? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. If we're genuinely rating these as the best cigars of the year, what was 2023 cigar of the year? It was
Opus. It was the Chateau de Fuente.
Opus. It's not on this list.
Nope.
It's not on the top 25. So you're telling me last year's number one, and you can't say, well, it's not. It was number one last year, so it's not on the list, because there's multiple repeaters on this 25. Correct?
Yeah. Well, and it may not be sizes, but it's certainly blends that have been number one before.
The blends are the blends, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, we agree.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about Vitola,
there's some difference in things, but
like whether
the cigar is the cigar.
Yeah, like if a Robusto smokes better than a Toro, sure, but they all came out at the same time. So go ahead.
And this year's number one cigar is a premier example of this. This is a great cigar.
From a great company.
Who
is deserving. I'm not arguing that at all.
Number one cigar of the year, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably already know. My Father the Judge Grand Robusto. That cigar has been out for, lay it on me.
I don't, 6-7 years.
At least, at a minimum.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to take the COVID years into account. I mean, it was out before that. What makes it the 2024 cigar of the year and not the 2019 cigar of the year? So that's
I can't answer that.
I know you can't. That's
rhetorical.
That's a rhetorical question. But like, I don't understand like why we can't have this list of cigars that are from the year for which they came out. There is a whole slew of cigars that could have made up this top 25. We've talked about it. There's no reason that the AJ 20th or the Arsenio, these are cigars that would have made the top 25.
Well, and I don't even know if there's any cigars that came out this year that are even on the list.
All right, so you recap it. Monte Cristo 1935 Nicaraguan was number 2. EP Carrillo Encore Celestial. Was that a new cigar this year? I mean, obviously,
it's just
Encore,
different size. Different size. A cigar that already got number one cigar of the year.
That cigar was number one of the year.
Different size.
Yeah.
But still.
Padron 1926, number 6. Partagas, I'm going to mispronounce. Cuban. Yeah, that's the Cuban one. Oliva Series V Melanio Maduro Torpedo.
The regular got number one cigar of the year in 2014.
Yeah. So why is this cigar on here again? Yep. Right? That cigar's been out. Conviction was a new cigar in
last year,
23. Okay, so that's the closest. Cohiba Maduro number 5. Don Carlos Eye of the Bull from Fuente. That cigar's been out for.
That was last year.
That was last year's cigar?
Last year.
Okay. Brickhouse Churchill.
Forever. And I want to stop you right there because I have one comment on the top 10. We've gotten to a point where the same companies are in the top 10 every single year.
Every year.
And it's My Father,
Fuente.
Altadis, Fuente, J.C. Newman, Oliva, Rocky, Padron, EPC.
You say Oliva?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then there's 2 Cubans. It's like it's just, you know what's coming and you hope it's something different, and it's not. And it's like there's this 3 or 4 year cycle where a Cuban gets number 1, and that's just going to be what it's going to be. And we all have our speculations and hypotheses as to why, largely probably due to... No.
Hey, what's it going to be when Brickhouse Churchill is number 10?
Well,
The cigar's fine.
It's sad because...
The Brickhouse Churchill is number 10. It's not better than the Oxum Claro Robusto. It's at number 12.
No,
it's just not.
It's sad because...
Excuse me.
I think about this, 2011, I believe it was. Viaje, Oro, Box Press Robusto, number 5, I think. Got the number 2 cigar of the year. And what that do? That put Viaje on the map.
On the map.
Like, it's the Spider-Man thing. With great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
You have the ability to put boutique cigars and smaller producers on the map by giving them high ratings, and you're giving it to the same companies every single time. And it's absolutely infuriating.
11, La Roma de Cuba Pasión de Box Press Torpedo. Number 12 was Oxum Claro Robusto. Oxum was not last year in 24, right?
No, it was Matapa, which was 23.
Was, yeah.
Nope.
Viva La Vida, Jester, the Casa Magna Colorado, Romeo and Julieta Wide Churchill, Perdomo 30th. Apologize.
That cigar came out this year.
There's a reasonable discussion that probably should be a top 5 cigar.
It's in Half Wheel's reader consensus final voting for cigar of the year.
Yeah.
Like reader voted cigar of the year.
There's a good chance that becomes their cigar of the year.
Yeah. And rightfully so.
That's what people are smoking right now. I get that we're smoking these other things, right? I get that. But I just don't understand the issue with not recognizing cigars that are new to the business. Plasencia, the 151, 601 La Bamba Warhead.
Yep. A limited edition.
Yep.
That they only made 2,000 boxes of. And it's like, okay.
That's right. That's like, okay.
Okay.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Herrera Estilo Norteño, the long
Which is
tail.
discontinued.
They don't make the cigar anymore. Yeah. Do you think they would have liked to have known this before they discontinued the cigar?
And maybe they did.
They probably did. Cohiba, the Riviera Robusto. I don't know anything about it. I apologize. We don't carry Cohibas. The LFD Ligero, the Chiseletto Maduro. The DL Chisel.
Yep. And then...
22 is the Black and Tan.
Really?
Yeah. Did you not know that?
No.
Yeah, number 22 is the one-off Black and Tan.
Good for you for smoking it tonight. Mm-hmm. Great cigar.
23, the Warped Corto. Which,
good job, Kyle.
That's a new cigar this year.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Jesus Christ. When was that?
I don't know. We had it last year, though.
Was it that been there all that long? All right. The Feria Ortega, the Suma, the Corona Gorda.
Good for Herclots.
Herclots, shout out. And then the Tatuaje Reserva, the A Uno.
So, fun fact, I didn't even know that cigar was made as a tat head until it got number 1 cigar of the year. Maybe that's a slight on our reps. I like our rep, but I didn't even know that was a thing. And I don't know. Okay, here's another question for you. The Judge Grand Robusto, number 1 cigar of the year, gets a 98-point rating and ties with EPC Pledge Prequel as the highest rated number 1 cigar of all time. What you're saying is that cigar is 2 points away from perfection. How? Right?
The question is then, if that's the case, so it's most certainly going to be the 2025 cigar of the year, right?
If it's not pledged.
That's what I don't like. Listen, Cigar Aficionado don't give two shit what the two guys in between two burns are saying. And we're not saying anything different than a whole lot of podcasts say. But there's a level of frustration when we're in the industry and our customers are reading these articles and everything like that. Like, why the cigars they aren't seeing come in the shop as new stuff, And I'm not telling you to rate a cigar that's not very good as your top 25. I'm not asking you to do that. But there's a whole lot of good new cigars that people are just learning about and trying. That's where my frustration comes in with it, right?
Again, if you're going to be the premier authority on cigars in the cigar industry, with great power comes great responsibility. Use your power to highlight brands that are up and coming and talk about new cigars that came out this year. Give it to vintage if you're going to give it to my father. Like,
yeah, there's no, yes, agreed.
There's no reason not to. And if you like, I don't know. I just feel like they do.
It's called Cigar of the Year. It's
Correct.
not called Cigars of All Time.
Yep.
That's a different list. If you want to make
sure
that
the
fucking
Padron
list, make
number
that list.
6 has been Cigar of the Year before.
Correct.
Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know all the lists, but like, it's
if it hasn't, it's been on the list. It's been hot.
It's like it makes no sense. It's so frustrating.
But if you're making repeaters, how many EPCs have been on the list in the last 10 years? 3?
No, because
4?
La Historia was number 2.
Yeah, Pledge, Encore, and La Historia have all been in the top.
Well, Pledge twice, or not Pledge twice. Encore twice, Pledge once, La Historia once. So at least 4. At least
Right.
4.
But only one of those is on the list.
Yep. My father has.
Andalusian Bull was number 1 and created one of the biggest uprisings for number 1s that we've ever seen.
My father has been on the list and has 3 number 1s in Flor de las Centillas, Le Bijou, Box Press Torpedo, and now Judge Graham Robusto. Where is Le Bijou and where is Flor de las Centillas?
Those cigars are not any less good.
Nope.
So that's what that is my biggest gripe with this. It doesn't make any sense in how we're doing this and what irks me a little bit more is when you look at this list, there's a pretty even distribution of companies. It feels like everybody made the list.
Yep.
That's
especially
just
everybody that advertises.
Yeah, and I hate to say it that way, but it may or may not be true. But it's almost like we're worried about pissing somebody off. Like, so everybody has a cigar on the list. There's an Oliva. There's 2 Fuente. Well, 1 Fuente, a Newman. There's a Drew Estate in the Norteño. There's a Foundation made the list. My father made the list, right?
And as much as I love him, Tap made the list.
Tap made the list. Perdomo made the list.
Yep.
So if you want to do it like that, then just give us the best one from each one of those respective companies then.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's just another frustrating thing about it from a retailer's perspective. Judge Graham Robusto has been out of stock since November. We haven't had it on the shelf in the shop since then. And now it's going to be even more impossible to get. This goes back to the Double Diamond thing.
Yeah.
It's a cigar that we've carried for forever and never had a problem with getting. And now because it's number 1, Joe Show's Smoke Shop down the street wants it.
Wants it now.
And now they're going to give it to him.
And that's exactly what happened with Double Diamond. We carried it the entire time. It gets number 1, and now the restaurant on the other side of town wants it. The retailer never carried it before. They would love to have a case. Total Wine wants it. It's like, where were you before? You know what I mean? And I'm not asking for us to be paid any sort of special treatment, but this is what comes along with that. But I just don't, the frustration of it not being of things that are represented in, I don't want to say represented in cigar shops. We carry most of that stuff. But
it's not representative of the year.
Of the year. That's exactly correct. Right? If you want to do an all-time list, then do an all-time list every year. Separate it. Do your, I don't care. Do a Mount Rushmore. I don't give a shit. But give me the 25 best cigars of the year.
Yep.
And if there wasn't 25 cigars that you could rate, that's not going to happen. There's 25. You're going to go through all the brands. There's 25 new releases.
Here's the thing.
If it's a new size release, all right, I'll buy that. That's fine.
Sure.
If it's a new size for the year.
Well, and here's the thing for me, too. All right, let's say we do that. Let's say the number 1 cigar of the year is 89 point rated. and the number 25 is 85 point rated. That means it was a down year for cigars. I would rather know that and remember that cigar companies had a bad year this year.
Yeah, that
it wasn't. 2024 wasn't great, which it was. It was a good year. I would rather know that than whatever they think is smoking well right now, because essentially that's what they're saying. Like, this is smoking good right now. Like,
listen, AJ 20th was better than 24 of those cigars on that list. To me, it just was.
I agree. Yeah.
There's multiple cigars on that list that My Father Vintage was better than.
Yeah.
There's many cigars on that list that this year's Supreme Leaf was better than.
Yeah, and regardless of how subjective it is, I think we can agree.
Actually, Aganorsa not represented on that list, right?
Nope. And neither was AJ. AJ makes the El Artista Pupo gesture thing.
Does he make the Oxum?
No, he makes Oxum. Yep, you're right. Yeah. He makes Oxum.
But still, that doesn't have his name on it.
Nope. Neither of them do.
Yeah.
It just I don't know. It's not going to change.
It's not going to change, so we'll bitch about it in this exact same podcast 365 days from now, and we'll go over what gets number one. And again, that's not a slight at any of those cigars. Those cigars are good. I love the Judge. That's a great cigar.
Yeah.
Great cigar. But it just, the qualification and the reasoning behind it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yep. I agree with you.
There's just no reason it should have been number one.
When it came out.
Like, that year it came out, it should have been the number one cigar. Now, I say that without knowing what else came out that year.
Yeah.
But like you said, what was the rate? What was the point total on it?
98.
Well, there was nothing that came out that year that was a 99. So
no.
It's just ridiculous.
I agree.
All right, that's my Grind the Gears episode, or segment of the episode. Let's wrap it up. So, a couple things coming soon if you're listening. Be on the lookout in the next month for the Stogies. If you're a follower, we'll have a podcast before then. I'm gonna break a little news for you. You don't even know this. They don't know this either. So our next episode, we're gonna do a little Super Bowl preview. Okay, that's gonna be our next pod. Will be Super Bowl preview. I think we're bringing on Milk and Opus guy. It's gonna be get your FanDuel accounts ready. It's gonna be the Super Bowl cigar podcast. There's gonna be plenty of cigar, but we're gonna go over the Super Bowl. We'll have a little Pipe and Pints prop bets for you. I think
Pipe and Pint prop bets.
Pipe and Pint prop bets. Your best bets. Your stone cold iron pipe locks. Like, you can't lose. So if you do lose, it will strictly be your fault.
Yeah, we are not held responsible.
We call that whatever that responsible gambling hotline that everybody gives
you need
you.
To call
that.
Just call the number.
Call that.
Call the number.
But I think I'm going to convince Milk Guy and Opus Guy, who both fancy themselves sports bettors, one more than the other.
Yeah.
Well, one for a larger denomination than the other.
Correct.
We won't reveal who's who here on that. But I think I'm going to convince those two guys. We're going to do a 4-man Super Bowl preview pod. After that, we're going to have the Stogies, whether it's a live pod or recorded, yet to be known yet, but we'll get that out to you. So you're going to get Cigar of the Year. You're going to get
Company of the Year.
Company of the Year. You
Some wonky awards.
Employee of the Year, possibly. I don't know if you're trying to suck up to get that or not. None of these come with any sort of monetary award.
Doing
or
the whitest
like
shoes
that.
of the year.
The whitest shoes of the year. I'm getting white of the shoes of the year, buddy.
Yeah, that's right.
Listen, nobody can see this because our fucking camera died, it appears, halfway through this episode. This is the second one we fucked up. Most people listen to audio anyway, so that's fine. But look out for that stuff.
Yeah.
Another great episode, buddy.
Hey, real quick.
I
want to steal something real quick.
Oh, here we go.
From the podcast you turned me on to of Simmons and Cousin Sal, Ringer Podcast.
Okay.
I have a parent corner.
You have a parent corner?
I have a parent corner. And
All right.
So we're
stealing, I'll backstory this. We're stealing this. If anybody listens to the Ringer Podcast Network, the BS Report, Bill Simmons, Cousin Sal from the Jimmy Kimmel Show, at the end of every episode, they do parent corner where they tell a story about their kids.
Yeah.
So you're going to give I'm going to try to think then of a parent corner while you do this. If I can't come up with something.
I know I sprung this on you, but
that's fine.
I want to hear.
So we're not stealing this. So if I assume Bill Simmons listens to this podcast.
Yeah,
so
I hope so.
If you hear our parent corner.
I have never been so proud as a parent than I was the other night. And I didn't know that I could feel so proud as a parent. So the other night, I was giving Magnolia, my daughter, my 2-year-old, a bath. And I don't know what my wife was doing, but I think she was gone. And I was messing around with Snapchat filters. And there's a Snapchat filter of Batman.
Of Batman. So you sent this to me.
I did.
Yeah.
And I put the Snapchat filter on her and convinced her to say, "I'm Batman," while in the Snapchat filter. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a super Batman nerd.
It was somehow the coolest and cutest video of all time.
I've never felt so proud, and I just want the world to know that. And it's incredible. It's just absolutely incredible.
Well, she's got the words going now and everything like that. So you are buddy boy, you're in dangerous territory. You got to watch your mouth now.
Yeah, you're
and
right.
everything like that. So
my wife needs to watch her mouth.
Is she the one? I know
she likes saying shit a lot, and I thought I heard Magnolia say it the other day, and I just kind of looked at Brittany and I was like, Jesus is watching.
Listen. I haven't yet. Well, that's not fair because I did shout out my wife early on with the toilet paper thing. But no person on earth says the word fuck in the not awesome way than my wife does. And my daughter doesn't, but my daughter does everything up to that point that you can do without saying.
You need to do that funny camera thing where you set up a camera in a room and you're like, okay, honey, you can say one bad word. I'm going to walk out of the room and record her just dropping it. It would be incredible.
First of all, the video of the kid saying cunt is the best video of all time when his mom leaves the room and he says it in this perfect British accent. It's one of the funniest videos I've ever seen. Yeah. That's a good prank call. I don't have anything. I'm going to think of something and I'll have it for the next one.
All right.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep.